Northern China, including Beijing, is experiencing a surge in undiagnosed pneumonia cases. Hospitals are seeing an influx of children with social media videos showing overcrowded waiting rooms. According to ProMed, the alert system, many children have high fevers, but lack typical pneumonia symptoms like cough or respiratory distress. The geographical spread of cases suggests a wider outbreak than initially perceived. The English-language China Daily News attributed the infections to mycoplasma pneumonia. The outbreak began to intensify around China's National Day holiday in early October, according to a China Daily report. WHO, the WHO, as in Who Cares, requested more detailed epidemiological and clinical data from China. It's also seeking information on local trends in the circulation of pathogens like influenza, COVID, mycoplasma pneumonia, for all they matter. An enigma this time around, as now many people suggest that the lab leak story was correct after all. How the times have changed, as it is a time for war. So let's get started now with some real deal headlines from around the world and in your neck of the woods, shall we? Nobody said anything about our new drapes. Did you like the new drapes? Okay. Anyways, let's get started here. So there is now something that is a continuation of yesterday's lead story that's stemming and coming out of China. Yes, the new Plandemic 2.0. Depending how you want to see it, describe it, illustrate it, articulate it, live it, or avoid it, it's here, and that's something you have to know. But something is also coming back, and that is social distancing is now returning to China. Just in time for the election and not a minute late. So yes, China is now bringing back all the favorites of yesterday's, all the behavioral methodology and quarantine. Get this, because we found out it was in northern China just the other night here. So they're saying now hands, face, space. China brings back the mask and social distancing in a chilling echo of a lockdown over a mystery outbreak from 4 years ago from COVID. The recent outbreak, they said it was a kitty cat. Then they said it was a pig. Then they said it might have been a farmer, but it could have been some, just flight attendant at this point. Well, now alarming new footage has now emerged of mask-wearing crowds inside a Chinese hospital. Yes, it's all back. Deja vu, isn't that too soon? As the pandemic now, the new one has now swept across the globe here. It's coming back with a mystery here. Well, areas of the north country over there in Beijing, over there in China, the country we don't hear about, the countryside, well, they're now being hit the hardest. Hospitals, they say, are being overwhelmed with sick children. Well, now some of the common bacterial infections, like pneumonia, well, it's circulated around that area in China since May and is now showing ground glass in lung scans. Well, it's known as the white lung syndrome. White lung syndrome. Many parents are deeply worried and are having to wait at least a day or so for emergency care. So this is a big thing. Now, what China's saying, they're continuing to insist that the flu and the usual winter bugs are to blame for the latest outbreak. That's all. What happened to the cat? The pig? But that's Europe, isn't it? Now, rather than the new virus and can cope with these spikes in the sickness, people are now beginning to just kind of freak out. Well, local authorities have already begun to call upon more clinics to open now. And get this one, to promote the miracle jab uptake among children and the elderly. And Canada said, we already beat you to the punch. We're waiting for you. Now, here's a little quote here. This is from a spokesperson, ministry spokesperson from the CCP. His name is Mi Feng. Well, he says the following quote, efforts should be made to increase the opening of relevant clinics in treatment areas, extend service hours, and increase the supply of medicines, or else more people in the U.S. are going to die right before the election. And aren't you scared? So there you have it now. And just to end it up here, 7,000 patients were being admitted daily to all these institutions from the medical field all over northern China. There's something about northern China But you also notice too, whenever these outbreaks seem to happen in modern times in China, it's never in Beijing. It's always in the weird countryside nobody knows too much about that I'm sure Google Maps tends to block off. Isn't that something? Well, as I'm telling you this, Europe, they want to be part of the new collective for the new reset. And now there's new pneumonia cases that are beginning to surge throughout Europe, especially England. Just in time. I mean, what are the odds this is all happening in unison? What are the odds? So here it is, just coming out of the Express. The fresh epidemic fears as child pneumonia cases surge in Europe after China outbreak. See, I mean, this is incredible. Now, hospitals in China have now reportedly been overrun, as we just found out. Well, now there's new pneumonia cases, as in an uptick recorded over there in the Netherlands. And this, by the way, last night's show, we just shared with you that the UK is saying, well, looks like we have the new swine flu, everybody. No more bangers and mash for you. Isn't that the case? Well, now cases of the pneumonia in children are rising rapidly throughout Europe as a second country reports the uptick as the deadly respiratory disease. So something about the glass in the lungs, the white lung infection. Now, the Netherlands over there, the Institute of the Health Services has reported that 80 out of 100,000 children in the country between the ages of 5 and 14 came down with the pneumonia last week. That's just last week. Now it comes after the cases and the diseases have surged unreasonably over there in China, and reports emerging last week about all the hospitals in Beijing being overran. So we're seeing a lot of these, similar plays from the beta test of the pandemic, which we can now see what that was. We're seeing that now come back into the play, and they're trying to say, well, it's different this time. Don't you agree? Don't you agree? Mike Pence seems to be back in the news.
When everything else had failed, Donald Trump turned to his vice president to overturn the election on January 6th, 2021.
And I hope Mike is going to do the right thing. If Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election. All Vice President Pence has to do is send it back to the states to recertify, and we become president.
Former Vice President Pence told investigators looking into the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol that Donald Trump had surrounded himself with, quote, crank lawyers, that he had espoused un-American theories, and almost pushed the country into a constitutional crisis, according to sources familiar with what Pence told investigators. Pence also told them that he is sure he told Trump that he had seen no evidence of voter fraud significant enough to change the results in a single state.
Pence will likely be a key witness at the federal interference trial, testifying under oath on the witness stand.
Jim, just how worried should we be? Because, apparently people who are familiar with the matter said the walls are closing in, and this time it's all over. Just how concerned should we be?
We shouldn't be concerned at all. In Washington, the bigger the liar, the further you go. Trump was an exception. He did not come from Washington. He's not a liar.
This is another story that we've been hearing over and over and over again. Our lead story tonight is just that. Hunter Biden is now back in the news, Jim, and I'm here to tell you about it, as Hunter Biden indeed is back in the news. This time he means it. Well, that's just it. Now Hunter Biden has agreed to appear. He's agreed to appear in front of a House committee. And I'm sure they'll take him to the woodshed and punish him, right? Hunter Biden, who may be wearing a mask as well at this point, shouldn't we all be, is now willing to testify before the House Oversight Committee, but only in public. Probably he fears for his life. Who knows? But according to his letter, an attorney he wrote to Republican lawmakers just this past Tuesday, who, yes, are familiar with the matter. Well, Chairman James Comer, the House Oversight Committee, issued a subpoena earlier this month to depose Hunter Biden. To depose him this coming December 13th. In his letter, he also said in front of a closed-door deposition that witnesses in his ongoing impeachment inquiry into President, allegedly, Joe Biden. So, yes, it's more of nothing, it seems, or is it something? Comer's now saying also announced a slew that is, of subpoenas on November 8th, targeting members of the President Joe Biden's family, including Hunter Biden, brother James Biden, and former Hunter Biden business associate Rob Walker, demanding that they appear for depositions. We've been talking about Hunter Biden for ages here at Real Deal Media. In fact, I remember Jim and I were talking about just probably early 2020 about kind of similar things. In fact, here's a little stroll down memory lane of what that was like and what Facebook was doing to a lot of people. And then take note of the name of this woman. Where is she now? Where is she now? She's got blood on her hands. Check this out. Memory lane.
2020.
Exclusive Chinese whistleblower reveals Hunter Biden's sex tapes contain video of Joe Biden sexually abusing multiple underage Chinese teens. Natural News reports. We have exclusive breaking news that the charges, that the trajectory of the upcoming U.S. election are now all coming to fruition. And you have the Chinese whistleblower coming out that's saying that there's all these CCP, secretly recorded tapes of Hunter, Xi Jinping, Joe Biden, financial crimes, how they got the DNC to sign a contract saying they're going to go right along with the CCP, and they better, because these tapes do exist, and you don't want those at your local Blockbuster and people renting them. You want to talk about fraud? You want to talk about censorship cover-up of the Biden revelations that could affect this election? Well, here we go. Does this explain why Facebook was so quick to suppress Hunter Biden revelations? Oh, whatever do they mean? Well, let's get a closer look. Well, it says at the moment, the New York Post reported on some of the most sleazy corruption details contained in the Hunter Biden's hard drive. Well, here we have this woman. Well, I don't mean to be presumptuous. Here we have a individual that's part of a collective named Anna Makanaju. She is the non-resident senior fellow of the Atlantic Council. That's probably some New World Order organization. She's the person currently in charge of Facebook's election integrity program. Well, thank the heavens that Anna Makanaju is the head of the integrity program, because God knows I have no integrity and I need Anna to pamper me and then change my diapers after. So here we have it. Yeah, there you have it. There you have it. Jim, you want to talk about this? Because nothing ever seems to happen to this guy.
Debate of Biden and Trump, and Tony Bobulinski was with Tucker, and he just jumped out of his chair virtually when Biden was denying he ever had any business dealing with his son. I mean, they have had this guy nailed forever. They even have sex tapes where he's in bed with the two Obama girls, and I have no doubt about it. They got this little dog thing that Brock gave to the girls right there with him on the bed. I mean, this guy deserves 100 years and throw away the key, if not the electric chair. This is just one of the great cretins, the great narcissists, the great overindulgers of our time. And Homer's doing a good job. I mean, I think the Republicans are out to do serious, unlike the Democrats with January 6th, where they filtered and, edited the tapes.
We must have done Hunter Biden returns a couple of times over the course of the handful of years. What is the objective and what's taking so long?
Remember, the Democrats operate on the principle of Henry Kissinger. He said, facts don't matter, only perceptions. They're going to get Hunter out there to give some phony sob story. He's going to lie through his teeth. People lie under oath all the time. Before Congress, it's absolutely routine. Remember those women who claimed that they'd been raped by the candidate for the Supreme Court? I mean, it was all absurd. It was all manufactured, but that's a Democrat stock in trade. They have nothing on their side, no principles, no policies. They got to wing it on lies and cheating and stealing elections. And frankly, no one ought to vote for a Democrat ever again, period. It's all over.